to tonight's live stream. On tonight's live stream, we're talking about anxious thoughts. And starting off, what is anxiety? Anxiety is a conditioned response. It comes from being repeatedly exposed to things that cause you fear. When you experience those things that cause you fear, you move into the fight or flight state. You experience the symptoms of anxiety, which would be useful in a life or death situation. They're designed to get you out of danger, such as sweating, enables you to cool down any kind of physical activity your mind perceives may be coming. Your heart rate increases, gets the blood pumping around your body so you can either fight back or run away. And lots of other symptoms that again may be useful in a life or death situation. But with anxiety, because you've been repeatedly exposed to things that cause you fear, probably things from your childhood when you were unable to do anything about those things, you've become conditioned to respond with anxiety. And we come to anxious or anxiety causing thoughts. So your thoughts, most of your thoughts, are not your own. They're things that other people have put in your mind. So again, often in childhood, maybe you were told that you weren't good enough, or if you've ever been to my inner child healing workshops or downloaded my inner child healing workbook, which you can get from our website, markstubbles.com, you'll have heard me say that children need what are known as good enough parents. A good enough parent provides unconditional love, unconditional acceptance. A child will know that they're going to get their needs met no matter what. Most people don't have good enough parents. I heard an estimate the other day from John Bradshaw. John Bradshaw was very famous, kind of pioneered the idea of inner child work. He said that as much as 96% of people grow up with some form of dysfunction, grow up without good enough parents. So when you don't have good enough parents, you take on the message that love is conditional, that you're not worthy of love. If you have narcissistic and abusive parents or family members, people who are calling you names, putting you down, you're going to internalize that. It's going to create a negative inner voice that's going to continue to attack you, put you down the same way, tell you you're not good enough or useless, or you can't do anything, you can't take care of yourself. You can also develop this negative inner voice if you spend a long time in an abusive relationship as an adult. But as a child, you're going to be most susceptible to it because that's when your neuroplasticity is at its highest, and that's when you're looking to your parents and caregivers to help you understand the world, understand yourself. So if they are calling you names, putting you down, you're going to internalize that. It's going to create those negative thoughts. So most of your thoughts are not your own. They're things that other people have put in your head. And in NLP, they say that when you're telling yourself, I should or I need to, those are things that other people have put in your mind. Those are introjects, things that other people have put in your mind, thoughts you've adopted from things you've been told. So one way to start to externalize these thoughts is mindfulness. There's many different ways you can practice mindfulness. You can walk mindfully, be aware of yourself facing one foot on the ground and then the next foot, listening to the sounds around you. You can also do meditation. Meditation, sitting, just focusing on the breath, breathing all the way down into your stomach, noticing the stomach rising and falling as you breathe in and out. And then if any thoughts come into your mind, not to try and suppress them or fight them or argue with them, not to label them as good or bad, just to label them as thinking. So if you have a thought that says, I don't know, you're stupid, you don't label that any differently to a thought that says, I need to cook dinner. You just label it all as thinking. By doing that, you start to externalize your thoughts. You start to stop being controlled by your thoughts, because you're not your thoughts. They are, many people associate with their thoughts and their feelings. Again, if they have a thought that generates anxiety, they associate with that feeling of anxiety. They try and fight against it, which leads to more anxiety. What resists not only persists, but becomes stronger. The more you try and fight against your thoughts and feelings, the stronger they are going to become. So being mindful of them, noticing them, and just allowing them to be. If you're feeling anxious, say, okay, I'm feeling anxious right now. Why am I feeling this? Is there any immediate threat? Is there a lion or a tiger in my living room? If there isn't, you can just say, okay, I'm feeling this. It's not relevant. There's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to allow it to be. And eventually it will pass. Everything passes with time. Nothing is permanent. And so, yeah, meditation, mindfulness can help you to start watching those thoughts and feelings. Also, another benefit of meditation, again, particularly if you've grown up with a lot of dysfunction and your amygdala has grown in size, it can be very relaxing. And the more you take time to relax, the easier it becomes to relax. The more you'll start to re-regulate your brain, shrink the size of your amygdala, increase the size of the thinking part of your brain, the less emotional pain you'll suffer. And again, the more you'll be able to see that your emotions are not you. So, does anyone have any questions? Anything you'd like to ask? Let me know in the chat box what questions you have. I will be glad to answer any questions. Speaking of questions, again, I want to emphasize that you're not your thoughts or feelings. They're just thoughts and feelings. They're there. Feelings are there to serve a purpose. They're like warning lights on your car dashboard. They let you know that something's wrong. When you're driving along and a warning light comes on your car dashboard, it says you need to put some coolant in or something. You don't try and fight against that light. You don't try and cover it up. You just say, oh, better put some coolant in, and you stop off and probably let the car cool down a bit before you do that. Or I need to get it serviced, whatever it is. You just notice it and deal with it. Feelings are meant to work the same way. Okay, so what can you do besides meditation? You can do breathing techniques such as box breathing, which involves breathing in for a set number, Usually it's the number 5, holding your breath for the number 5, breathing out for the number 5, and then holding the space between breaths for the number 5. Before you do that, you want to take what's known as a SUD score. SUD stands for Subjective Unit of Distress. So ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, what am I feeling right now? 1 being not too bad, 10 being terrible. Once you have that SUD score, do the box breathing for a few rounds, and then take the SUD score again. If the SUD score's gone down to a level you're happy with, you can go about and get on with your day. If it hasn't, you can keep box breathing, or you can try 7-11 breathing. 7-11 breathing involves breathing in for the count of 7, breathing out for the count of 11. The idea on why this works is because you're elongating the out breath. And by doing that, that's going to move you out of the fight or flight state. Because if you were really in a life or death situation, you wouldn't be breathing out for longer than you're breathing in. Another thing you can do is on the fleshy part on the side of your hand, just rub there. That is a EFT pressure point in Chinese medicine. They believe in something called qi energy. Science has actually proven the existence of qi energy. Flows around the body, and they believe if it becomes blocked, it creates bad feeling within the body. So rubbing pressure points, such as the fleshy part of the side of the hand, or the 9 gamut point, which is located between the tendons of the little finger and the ring finger on either hand, just rubbing in there. You should notice, you feel that quite soothing, quite relaxing. Again, take the SUD score again, see if it's gone down. You can also do grounding techniques. So with a grounding technique, you can name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can taste, and that will ground you, bring you back into the present moment, bring you back into your body. And a man called Lao Tzu allegedly said that peace, depression is living in the past, anxiety is living in the future, and peace is living in the present moment. When you're living in the present moment, you're not worried about things that are going to be happening in the future. And often, things that we worry about in the future, they're never as bad when we actually face them. So by just living in the present, being in the present moment, you'll have less anxiety, you'll be less troubled by your anxious thoughts. And check if there's any questions, anything in the chat. But if you go to my website, markstubbles.com, you can download my free depression and anxiety workbooks, my free inner child healing workbook. In those workbooks, you'll find the exercises I've spoken about here and a lot more. You'll also find the values elicitation exercise or identification exercise which I spoke about in the last live stream I did. So go to my website, markstubbles.com, have a look at them. And yeah, thank you for joining me. Also, on Sunday night, I have a stress and anxiety workshop. You'll find a link to that in the description below. If you want to find out about one-to-one therapy, again, you can go to my website, markstubbles.com, and book a call. Thank you very much. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed tonight's live. I hope there's some information there that you found useful, that you'll be applying. Let me know in the chat box and the comments which of the exercises you'll be applying, which exercises you found most effective. Thank you and good night.